Hello, lovely people. Welcome to Common Censored. I'm Lee Camp, here with Eleanor Goldfield.
Hello.
This is the show where we talk censored stories and people, sensible solutions, and common ground movements to fight and build.
And sometimes other shit.
And I love the smell of protest in the morning. There is protests going on around the world, which is, well, around the nation especially. Although, actually, there's been a lot of protests, sympathetic protests for our Black Lives Matter protests happening around the world. Pretty impressive. The protests in other countries are like, yeah, America, stop killing all the black people. It's not cool. You suck for doing that. But yeah, we're gonna get into a lot of it, and I figured I'd start off this week with a little political roundup. Trump wants to go to war with the American people. He wants to use the Insurrection Act of 1807. I think he said that a week ago, which very exciting. I like when we get the military involved because I feel like there aren't enough guns at these things. I just haven't seen enough guns.
Well, to be clear, he basically invoked the Insurrection Act right before he took his little walk to the church, and he did that so that he could call on the military to clear space and allow for him to stand there like a fucking idiot.
Right. So, but basically, in order for that to happen in the states would have to request it, and none of them did.
Although he did say that
DC,
hundreds of governors have called him asking for support.
Hundreds of governors, yes. Yes, each state has 7 governors. Most people don't realize that, but it's true. But DC, he basically can do what the fuck he wants because it's not a state. So.
And then Mayor Bowser's response was, oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to paint the street.
I'm going to paint right here. See what you do about that.
And then all of the people said, but why don't you actually think that Black Lives Matter? Why are you just painting that shit on a street?
So the painting, for those of you who don't know, but most of you probably do, now there's basically the 3 blocks leading up to the White House, which weirdly is my walk to work because the studios for Redacted Tonight are about 2 blocks from there, is now considered Black Lives Matter Plaza. And they painted in giant letters that can be seen from space, but like near space. Like you got to be shallow space that you can see it. It says Black Lives Matter. And then people were like, well, that doesn't mean anything. So now they've added equals defund the police. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's a shitty thing to have done. I just think it has to be met with action. There has to be action with it for the chalk on the ground to matter. And that goes for pretty much all chalk that I've ever encountered. But pretty much chalk must be used with some sort of other actions, or it's not that big a deal.
I would just like to say that I think the chalking that I saw that said, like ACAB and fuck 12 and Black Lives Matter that folks were doing on the street is way cooler than the mayor commissioning Black Lives Matter when she has made clear in all of her policies that Black lives don't matter. And she was obviously...
But the road says it, though.
Obviously
it
was
must
hoping
be true.
That this little move would get people to step back and be like, oh, but it says it on the street now.
Things written on the street are absolutely true, such as left turn only. It's impossible to go straight from that area.
Yes, I've seen people spontaneously combust when they try. I kind of wish Mayor Bowser would spontaneously combust. But yeah, I mean, she's a shit
She is.
mayor.
You wouldn't understand this, but she is named after the villain in Mario Brothers. So it makes sense. Yeah.
Oh.
The bad guy in Mario Brothers is
there a shopping
cart
involved?
First there was King Koopa, and now and then there was Bowser. Bowser was the other bad guy. But we've already told the podcast audience that you revealed that
right.
Mario
No, I
Brothers
remember that.
have no last name.
Where was the shopping cart in all of this? Wasn't there a cart?
Shopping cart. You might be thinking of Mario Kart.
Oh, I thought that was a shopping cart.
Oh no, they're in little carts, not shopping carts. They're in go-karts.
Oh, I guess that makes more sense.
Yeah, and I played.
Because shopping carts don't have engines.
shopping carts are very difficult to race, although some people have tried, but they're difficult to race.
They're amazing videos. Especially like around San Francisco when you've got like those big hills.
Well, then they started putting the locks on them so that somehow a shopping cart has more technology than like a toddler. Like you move, if it starts to get away, it locks up. I feel like we could put that in the,
We should put that in toddlers.
That's what I mean.
Oh my
I feel
God.
like we could implant
Lee,
that
that's
somehow.
brilliant.
And their legs would just lock up.
Like fainting goats.
Yes, the opposite of fainting goats. They faint if they're running away.
No, that's what. Well, fainting goats, they get scared. They try to run away, and then
Right, but this toddler's not scared. This toddler is just wants freedom. Really, as Americans, we should be like, freedom! Go, toddler, go! Run for the hills!
Did we derail a bit?
No, not at
No.
all. So back to Mario Kart, the important thing going on here. I played a ton of Mario Kart, and I just remember that when the toadstool guy would get knocked off the track and fall to his grisly, untimely death, he'd go, whoa, 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 whoa.
Which is the sound your
Which-
cat makes.
I feel like, yes, my cat makes that noise, but I feel like when people are knocked over or knocked off the path, they should make that noise. Anyway, let's move on to the other side of the political aisle. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats dressed up like they were in Wakanda and took a Kaepernick knee in the middle of the Capitol Rotunda because that is meaningful somehow.
Dude, and
and people are like, look, they were given the scarves, the African scarves, by the Black Caucus. It's like, I don't care.
it doesn't matter where
It
the fuck
doesn't
they
matter.
got
They
them.
look ridiculous.
Well, and it is ridiculous.
Not because those scarves look ridiculous. Those scarves look great on people who choose to wear them. On people, on a bunch of multimillionaire white people who have done shit all for Black America to throw on the African scarves and take a knee in the center of the Capitol
Dude,
when they didn't give a flying fuck the past times that we've had Black Lives Matter marches and protests and everything. Where were they? Were a lot of them speak out to say Kaepernick should keep his job at the NFL? No.
No, and it's just such like pandering theatrics, dude. When I saw that, I was like, what the fuck does the Onion do anymore? I don't know how, but
I don't know if you saw Chuck Schumer. He was dressed up as the Black Panther, the actual superhero with the cat ears. He had on the little cat ears.
Dude, I would just like it to take a moment to thank the internet for everything it's done in commenting on this. There was one recently that I saw. It had a picture of them all, they're like socially distant, so they're like all equidistant from each other and they're all kneeling. And this guy was like, so maybe you could like pass some legislation as opposed to just posing as a Wakanda chess set. And
they look like the Harry Potter real live chess, doesn't he?
Oh God!
In the ending of like the first one or something, he's
he's playing chess with like
life size
right.
chess. Yeah.
The other one that my comment was for her next act, Nancy Pelosi's going to put on blackface and act out scenes from The Color Purple. That
was offensive because you said she did something offensive. I'm offended.
I am offended, and I'm white. I'm offended on behalf of
I am offended that you acknowledged the existence of Nancy Pelosi.
Me too. Ever since I acknowledged her existence, I've been offended every day. But this is just like the whole thing, the whole like theatrical, we give a flying fuck is, I'll say this. I think people are less inclined to buy it than they were maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I feel like the most of the commentary that I've seen, even from folks who, still have like the Warren stickers on their fucking Facebook pages, is like, well, this is just bullshit. This is, or, well, I see what they were trying to go for, but it's not enough. We need actual reform or whatever. So I feel like people are inching their way towards.
We need the Democrats to wear the Kwanzaa scarves every day of the year. Then things will be right.
They're kente scarves.
Sorry.
But so, I mean, and it's not enough, sure, that people are being like, oh, let's reform, but that doesn't work. What we really need is a large scale movement to defund the police and fund other parts of the community or the actual community. And there's a great there's a great hashtag going around. There's also a website called 8 to Abolition, and it's the concept of 8 to Abolition.
Okay.
Like 8 steps to abolishing police. And I know
I thought it was ATE. I was getting kind of hungry.
I know that it sounds scary, the idea of abolishing the police, because holy shit, what are we going to do if we don't have the cops? And actually, I posted about this, and folks can check it out if you haven't already. But I'll just go ahead and read some of those notes.
So hold on, before you get to those, is this the thing you forwarded me with the color images of what would happen if we didn't have cops?
No.
Well, we could do it before or after, but I was going to say similarly that those things aren't designed. You forwarded me that they're not designed to be comical. They're designed to be very serious. But I just found them funny because it's so common sense. Yet no one understands. No one even thinks about it. So it's like it goes through a list of issues. It was like, imagine if
if
someone's
someone's having a drug overdose or
a drug overdose. Your friend's having a drug overdose, and what do? Well, you and there are no cops. You call this number where people who know how to deal with drug overdoses come and help your friend and help them get the help they need.
And they don't get arrested.
And they don't get arrested. And then it was like, what do you do if there's a guy, a mentally unstable man who's in your courtyard screaming and yelling at people and, trying to fight people and being violent? Well, instead of calling the cops, you call this number where people who are trained with dealing with mentally unstable people come and they don't have guns and they help the man. And it's like, it's totally trying to be serious. It's totally like, here's what we could do instead of police. And instead, I'm just like laughing at like, yeah, of course. Of course. There's no reason. Like, hey, two mentally challenged dudes with guns who do a lot of steroids, come insert yourself into this situation. That'll help a lot.
Well, yeah, and the way, I can't remember who I heard say this, but it was basically somebody mentioned instead of saying calling the cops, we should start saying what it is, which is let's call two strangers with guns who are trained to kill people to address this situation. Yeah. And it's like that. Thank you. That's a brilliant way of putting it, because they're not members of your community, so they have no vested interest in de-escalating. They are trained to kill far more than they're trained to de-escalate, and they're armed to the fucking gills.
Their main vested interest is usually to arrest, because some of them have quotas. In some states that's illegal, but even when they don't have quotas, they're still expected to show that they're doing something out there.
You get a pat on the back.
Yeah, you get a pat on the back and things like that. So they're expected to bring people in, bring in the criminals. They're not expected to, if they just keep showing up to places and not arresting anyone or not wreaking havoc, then their sergeant or whatever is going to be like, you don't seem to be doing anything. No, I go to, could you imagine if there's a good cop? Like, no, I've been to 15 incidents in the past 3 days, and in all of them, I just calmed it down, didn't arrest anybody. Like,
no one gets a pat on the back when they tell their sergeant that they didn't shoot anyone or didn't arrest anyone.
Maybe I heard about the story when it first happened, but there was a cop in New York City who showed up to a scene. The guy was an abusive guy who was having a mental breakdown, and he's waving a gun around, but they had gotten a report from the girlfriend who had called saying he wants you to kill him. He's hoping the cops will arrive and shoot him. So he's basically trying to create suicide by cops, which some people do sometimes. And she told them that, so the first arriving cop knew this guy is going to try and get us to shoot him. Well, he showed up, and the guy had he was told it was unloaded pistol, but he wasn't aiming it at the cop. He's just waving it around. So this guy decides, oh, well, he's not trying to shoot me. He just is trying to get himself shot. I'm not actually in harm here. In danger here. So he basically just kept talking to him, trying to calm him down. And then the other two cops, his backup or whatever, show up and immediately shoot the guy. And then the guy who didn't shoot was then fired for not shooting.
Sounds about right. Well, and that reminds me, you mentioned New York. I want to go ahead and skip to this mention that today, which is Tuesday, June 9th, by the way, the New York State Legislature passed critical legislation that will fully repeal 50A, which up until now has allowed law enforcement to shield police misconduct records from the public. So some of you might be listening to this and thinking, I'm sorry, what the fuck? Police misconduct records weren't open to the public? No, they were not. And so this just means that you can look and see how fucked up the cops are.
So this is not uncommon. In fact, it's very common across the country. Police unions are so powerful that they get this. This is one of the many things that they get through the state and city laws and stuff, that they're allowed to cover up the records of police and harmful police and violent police and police with complaints against them, and so you usually can't find out. And almost all of the guy who killed George Floyd had a record of having murdered a couple other people and other complaints. The guy who murdered Eric Garner had I don't know whether he'd killed other people, but he'd had complaints and chokehold violations and things like that. So almost inevitably, these cops that end up killing people have a record of doing this type of shit.
Yeah. And actually, the cop who killed George Floyd had killed 2 Native American people before that. And for folks not familiar with the Minneapolis, Minnesota area, it is a community that has a lot of indigenous folks who live there, and indigenous folks suffer extreme violence at the hands of police on both a local level and a federal level. So that's, this is another reason that we're seeing, if folks have seen in the streets, you've seen the AIM flag, the American Indian Movement flag, you've seen the connections being made between Black Lives Matter and indigenous rights movements. And this is, the cop behind the George Floyd murder is a perfect example of this.
By the way, this could be a big win if they follow through with it, but the city council of Minneapolis says they want to abolish the police and replace it with something else, with more community policing. I did catch a minute of CNN where I think his first name is Dickbag Cuomo was pressuring her, basically now people have been saying you want to abolish the police, meaning I assume that would just result in endless lawlessness and just tons of violence. And St. Paul is your neighboring city was saying, oh no, we're going to have to go and deal with all their problems because our police will have to. But you're not really saying that, right? And he kind of kept pressuring her. But they have said that they would like to abolish the current form of the police and replace it with a lot more community policing and things like that. Now, I assume let's be honest, this is America. It's not like they're going to be like, oh yeah, just unarmed people with flowers in their hair will show up and deal with everything. It's like, no, there will still be armed people for extreme circumstances. I get that we could come up with a better solution than that, but I don't think any city is going to be completely unarmed.
Well, here's the thing. The times that you need armed police, it's not like what you see in the TV shows where every situation requires armed police because there's just all of these murderers just running rampant and then they're constantly just about to murder someone until that cop with a gun shows up. That's not how real life works.
No, most of it is homeless guys pooping in an alley, which I don't think you need to have guns drawn for that. I mean, maybe you want to have a nightstick out just in case something gets
a euphemism?
Out of hand. For what?
Well,
you're saying, do the cops want to show up with their cocks in their hands? Why would that be a thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I would just like to shift here because what I was going to say is that there was a post put out by a Portland organization that works with predominantly unhoused folks, and they basically asked a bunch of unhoused folks, to your point about homeless people, who would you what could you imagine other than cops being called for situations that involve you or your community members? And here were some of their responses. mental health professionals.
Which the cops could use as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, that should be mandatory. Peer support, social workers, EMTs, firefighters, nurses, and conflict resolution counselors. None of these people, by the way, are armed or trained to kill people. They're trained to do the opposite. And this idea that we have to call people strangers with guns who are trained to kill people it's disgusting and it's absurd, and it really speaks to the narrow-mindedness of people like Dickbag Cuomo, who just can't possibly imagine a world where you might have people trained in caring or trained in helping people to address situations and de-escalate situations that 90% of the time don't require weapons.
Well, and so, yeah, exactly. And so, like, to put this in a kind of personal, anecdotal scenario, we had a get-together here. We had, like, 25 or 30 people in a tiny apartment, and one of the neighbors, well, we didn't know. They didn't warn us or ask us or anything, but it was loud in here. But anyway, we get a knock on the door, and there's two cops standing there, standard cops. So we're talking guns and all. And they're like telling us to quiet down. Now, think about that situation. Best case scenario, these guys show up with their guns and say, quiet down. And we say, okay. And that's the end of it. And that's what happened. I was like, oh, you need to quiet down? All right, thanks. And close the door. That's the best case scenario. But worst case scenario, they show up, get spooked, and kill someone. Mm-hmm. Mid-level scenario, they show up. We're like, really? You came to tell me to turn down my stereo? You fucking showed up at my house with guns to tell me to turn down a stereo?
Or they're just having a shitty night and they decide to arrest you.
Right. So either someone talks back or they're having a shitty night or whatever it is. And now you have people getting their heads beat in and arrested and your life is fucked up. And so it's like there's 1,000 things that can go horribly wrong in that scenario. And there's one way that it could be okay without something terrible happening. You are inviting a terrible, terrible possibility, or a slew of terrible possibilities, into what was just a slightly loud stereo. Like, that's what a lot of incidents with the cops is.
Right. And God forbid, by the way, that if you actually were to go and knock on the door of your fucking neighbor and be like, hey man, I'm just trying to get some sleep. It's really loud. Could you turn it down? Then I would have been like, absolutely, totally. Everyone quiet down. But because they called the cops, when the cops left, I got louder because, first of all,
you've got your own issues that we have to work. No,
right. But this is definitely white privilege, and that has to be, noted. But also, I know from experience that if there's one thing that cops hate, they hate being called back to the same situation when they know that there's not going to be any guns and glory. So they know that they're going to be in deeper shit if they get called back to a situation and they draw their guns on, in a white neighborhood. That's not going to look good for them. So yeah, I'm definitely recognizing that I use my privilege there. But the idea that you couldn't just fucking come and knock on our door and be like, hey man, it's loud. Like, really? That's just...
Well, right, but in this scenario, systemically, I'm less angry with the neighbors and more angry with the idea.
I'm super pissed at the neighbors still, obviously.
Oh, no, I fucking hate that they did that, but I'm just saying what would be useful to our podcast listeners is not to know how annoying our neighbors are. It's to know why the cops showing up is bad.
But but there's also another point here.
I mean, if you want to give their name and address so people can email.
I don't actually know. But the other point here is that it's important to build relationships with your neighbors. We had another neighbor that would periodically knock on our wall, and I was really tempted to use the Mitch Hedberg line. You have to go around. There is no door on this side. But so I basically left a note on their door, and I was like, hey, I'm sorry if we're loud sometimes, which we're not, by the way. I don't even think we're that, but that's a different story. And I was like, why don't you come over for a glass of wine and we'll discuss this? Like, let's try doing things that way as opposed to starting some ridiculous tit for tat where we're now banging on each other's walls. We're calling cops. We're, like.
So long story short, you poisoned her. We disposed of the body in the river, and it all went great.
Well, it's not the river. It was
a creek.
Yeah.
It all went great. But because
I'm happier.
You chose to knock on the door,
I'm happier.
And leave a note. Quick moment, and then we got some great news about the embassy protectors, the Venezuelan embassy protectors. But a couple of quick notes. We've been doing a live stream where we get to chat with you all. Many of you may already know about it, but we've been doing them regularly for the past 4 weeks. And this week it will be Saturday. It's on YouTube, so it's visual as well, not just audio. And it's Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's at youtube.com/Moment of Clarity, not the Redacted Tonight channel. This is the Moment of Clarity channel, my other channel. And so not only do you get to see us, which is different, but also we get to...
Not different in a bad way like that sounded.
Yeah, no, but I'd say 70% positive. I mean, 30% of the time you're like, ooh, what was that? Why do they look like that? But... yeah, so we get to chat, but also we get to chat with you. We get to get your feedback. We have, usually a pretty active back and forth with everybody in the comment board. And then on top of that, there's people can donate a couple of dollars, not to us, but we create a cause each a week that we come up with a cause each week that we're donating the money to. And we've been averaging like $600 from just a little here and a little there. And last week's went to community bail funds. Another week's went to mutual aid. And anyway, it is just a really good time that where people are helping great causes, and it's all free to attend. So if you don't have money, don't worry about it. Show on up, hang out. It's free to comment, so we can answer your questions whether you have $2 to donate or not. And it's all at youtube.com/Moment of Clarity this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And to keep going here, Eleanor's movie just got an award.
I got a laurel.
And a laurel.
Laurel.
Which is not easy to say when you're drunk.
I'm not drunk.
I'm
exhausted.
I know. But it's...
So basically, I am super excited because the film Hard Road of Hope has received its first laurel, which is basically like, that you see those little laurels on fucking film posters. I got one.
It's an honor.
I got one.
It's an honor.
It was the official selection in the Rome Independent Prisma Festival.
And everybody can check out the film at hardroadofhope.com.
Yes, and there's also now a version with subtitles. And so now the film is also more accessible, so please feel free to go check it out with or without subtitles.
Speaking of that, when are you going to build a ramp to that film? Because I'm a little offended.
Well, it's the Hard Road of Hope.
So let's see if you can fucking do it. You get up that road, and then we'll let you see the film.
But to be fair, the road in the film is flat.
Is not stairs.
It's not stairs.
Because then it'd be called Hard Stairs of Hope.
Which, that doesn't really have the same ring to it, I feel.
I feel like the Hard Stairs of Hope are when you're hungover and you go out to like buy something in pajama pants,
God.
and it's like you walk ashamed to the store to get like a hamburger or something. And
wow. That just felt so visceral.
That's the hard road of nope, is what that is.
Dude, somehow you just explaining that felt so visceral. And I'm just remembering back, for some reason, just like this specific apartment I had in downtown LA, like taking the stairs and...
The hard stairs of nope.
Man. Yeah, that really hit
me
hard
but I
just
meant,
now.
But in that scenario, I meant stairs as an S-T-A-R-E. The hard stairs of nope.
Oh, see, I've never given a flying fuck about people who stare at me like a Looney Tune.
Really?
Just, okay, to give you an example, just a quick little tangent here. So, I don't know if anybody in LA, or really, they're not just in LA, but Pinkberry, they're like the little yogurt
yeah, they're
store.
They're everywhere. Well,
okay.
Most everywhere.
So I used to have, I still do, but I don't know where there's a Pinkberry anywhere near here. But I love Pinkberry. And it was like Friday night.
I've never seen you eat Pinkberry.
Because I'm not in LA anymore.
Okay.
So it was like a Friday night, and me and my band had been working on some stuff, and I'm in torn jeans that are like 2 sizes too big and like this shitty looking tank top. And I was like, I think I'm going to have to take the metro to Hollywood and Highland and get some fucking Pinkberry at like midnight because they're open till 4.
Pinkberry's open till 4?
Because Los Angeles, despite its faults,
like
is an actual city, unlike DC, which is like a small town where everything closes at 8 p.m.
That's like a New York and LA thing.
It is. But anyway, long story short, I did not change my clothes. And I went to Pinkberry, where, and if folks aren't familiar, Hollywood and Highland is where like all of those kind of clubs are, where everyone gets dressed in like, you know, the guys are wearing like the suit jackets with the $500 jeans, and women are wearing like the stripper heels with the $500 dress that is somehow the same size as an eye patch.
And you had on socks with sandals.
Basically, I looked like the dude from The Big Lebowski in comparison. Okay. And if I could have, I probably would have written a check for the Pinkberry.
One side of your hair pulled up in a clip.
Yep. And I know that people were staring at me like I was a fucking idiot, but I was like, look, dude. And I got the size large Pinkberry, and I just walked back to the metro with that fucking, and I'm sure people thought I was high, but I was stone cold sober, and I was so pleased with my decision. Still am.
Still have to this day.
That is a better use of my Friday night.
To quote Joe Biden, I apologize for nothing. I apologize for nothing. So yes, that is the hard stairs of Nope. No, Hard Road of Hope. Check out the movie and
hardroadofhope.com.
Couple other things real quick. Please go over to patreon.com/commoncensored to become a member. We've updated the tiers so you can get a book, a signed book by me, or many other things. And if you've already become a member and you are expecting a book, please email us at commoncensored@protonmail.com because we need to get your address and everything. commoncensored@protonmail.com. Let's keep going. Although Eleanor also has a new photo essay at artkillingapathy.com. All of her stuff is there. And you can join our free email by texting the word censored to 33777.
And just want to do a quick shout out to the folks who have emailed saying that they appreciate the show. Thank you so much. And we do try to respond to the emails, if not cover them on the show. So if you've got thoughts or questions that you want us to cover on the show, please email us.
All right, let's continue here. The embassy protectors, all of the charges were finally dropped.
Woo!
On the 4 remaining Venezuelan embassy protectors. I'm sure many of you are longtime listeners, and you'll remember that we were very involved in the fight to protect the Venezuelan embassy here in Washington, D.C., as Trump and his goons, and with the tacit support of the Democrats, have tried continually to create a coup in Venezuela, and part of that was stealing the Venezuelan embassy here in Washington, D.C., which is supposed to be highly illegal. It's against the Vienna Convention. And but there were 4 remaining embassy protectors, wonderful people, friends of ours, Margaret Flowers, Kevin Zeese, David Paul, and Adrian Pine, and they were the last 4 who stayed in the embassy for, I believe, over a month. And they were arrested for ridiculous charges. It was like getting in the way of official security or something.
Official State Department business.
Official State Department diarrhea or something. It was utter horseshit. And they fought it, and the first trial came back with a mistrial, and then the federal government had to decide whether to bring it all again to trial. And in the midst of this pandemic and in the midst of the protests, in order to kind of cover this up as a non-story, they have dropped the charges, and the federal government has gone home with their tail between their legs.
Yeah. Fantastic news.
And in a scenario like that, you got to realize the pressure that's on them to take some sort of little plea deal. I think the government was basically like, yeah, we'll give you time served. Just admit that you violated this and that and this. And they refused. So
yeah.
Truly impressive, and we're very excited for them, the embassy protectors. So there's some good news. People say we don't give enough good news. There's some fucking good news, all right, you assholes. No. I didn't mean it like that. Come back. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
Oh, dear.
Let's get in. Let's talk a little bit about the history of tear gas, I feel like, because it's been a big story recently.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the mainstream media, because they hate Trump, and the Democrats, because they hate Trump, are suddenly realizing that a lot of innocent people are being tear gassed. It's funny, during Occupy, they didn't seem to be so concerned about it. It didn't seem to really be a problem. Now, they're noticing that, a lot of innocent, unarmed, sometimes elderly, sometimes young people are tear gassed with a fucking chemical that can be very harmful, and the canisters being fired out of these guns can be very harmful, and people lose eyes and things like that. People go into seizures. And so there's a lot of talk about tear gas recently.
Yes, and so I as a history nerd, I would like to go back to the beginning. And you told me to go back to the beginning, so I have. That was Princess Bride, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it was. I like the accent you threw on there.
Anywho, so basically, tear gas made its debut in trench warfare during World War I, and it was basically the first chemical agent to be used in the war. And it wasn't used heavily. The Paris police did use some of it to root out, so to speak, barricaded criminals in the early 1900s. But the French army really began to use tear gas grenades on a much wider scale in the front lines in 1914. And so basically, and folks might have seen images from World War I where folks are wearing like these heavy duty gas masks.
Folks.
Soldiers, whatever.
Good old folks.
Okay.
But yeah, no, those crazy gas masks they have on that are basically giant canvas hoods.
Yeah, and they were obviously. These things weren't foolproof, and they also were hugely uncomfortable to wear, and they actually could cause more damage over time because they'd trap the gas in your face.
If gas got in, then it'd just be stuck in there. Yeah.
So not ideal. But anyway, so after the
also you had to have the cigarette inside the mask, which is tough.
It's not a good look.
It's tough.
It's not as chic looking. So after the First World War, the U.S. began.
There's like an amazing photo, or many amazing photos of horses with they created a horse gas mask.
Oh, yeah. That sounds familiar.
Which I'm sure the horses must have just been like, dude, you're already riding on our fucking backs, and now this? What is wrong with you?
So basically, the U.S. started conducting research on tear gas right before the armistice that ended the war. So they didn't get to try it out that much on the battlefield.
Damn it.
And they were super bummed about that because they had not only used the tear gas that the French were using, but they had developed a new agent using, I'm going to butcher the saying of this, or the pronunciation, chloroacetophenone.
Nailed it.
Chloroacetophenone.
You're kind of trailing off there. I feel like you get the first half and then you have a light seizure. Just a light seizure.
Okay.
And then
So anyway, this chloroacetophenone was something that the U.S. then improved, if you could call it that, improved upon the tear gas that the French were using. And
who says we're not innovative?
Right. And the U.S. created the U.S. Chemical Warfare Service. I'm not kidding. And they basically created
Chemical Warfare Service, not avoidance,
right.
Not trying to stop.
So the CWS then received numerous requests for the weapon from police departments in the early 1900s. So, for instance,
those requests went something like this. Ha! Do you have something we could spray in their face and make them shut the fuck up?
Oh, see, you are just adopting the Southern accent, which is somewhat correct. But, for instance, in New York and Boston, where there was a lot of civil unrest and major strikes between 1919 and 1921, there were 29 major strikes and that led to intervention from federal troops where tear gas was used widely. And veterans, here we go again.
Boston doesn't surprise me. Boston cops were brutal back then.
Here we go again with the use of, or the connection, the deep buddy connection between the military and police. Veterans of the First World War became police officers, and they were familiar with the gas and encouraged departments to seek it out. So this is like the 1033 program before the 1033 program.
Boy, that's interesting. You'd think if police in America were really trying to be peaceful and trying to help people out, probably soldiers are the last type of people that should become police officers due to the fact that they have, PTSD sometimes and a lot of issues of wanting to harm the enemy because they were being shot at and they felt their life was at risk. And so if you now put them in an American household and tell them you're still at war, just now it's the American people, I think they're probably going to act pretty similar.
Yeah. To circle back to your Southern accent, this very special request from the Department of Public Safety in Norfolk, Virginia, specifically mentioned that gas grenades would be effective in subduing black people.
Specifically black people.
Specifically.
It's even tougher for them to handle. What the fuck? Jesus.
Yeah. So there's some history on the
funny,
the use
this
of tear
was
gas.
not when I went to public school in Richmond, Virginia. This was not in the history books.
Really?
Where did our cops get all their tear gas?
Well, and I should note that the First World War ended in 1918. By 1923, a mere 5 years later, more than 600 cities and their police departments possessed the tear gas. And that wasn't just for public use. It was prison wardens and strike breakers that weren't part of police departments, but that were called in specifically as, anti-strike security. And banks even purchased their own stocks of tear gas.
And by the way, I know we've mentioned this before, but chemical weapons are now against the Geneva Conventions and are only allowed when you use them on your own populations. So we can use chemical weapons on Americans, but not internationally. How wildly fucked is that?
And
if it's a war crime against war enemies, it should be a war crime against your own fucking people.
And folks have, the Nation of Change also put out an article that speaks specifically to the use of tear gas during a pandemic, because guess what? Tear gas can cause long-term harm, and it makes people more susceptible to contracting influenza, pneumonia, and other illnesses and viruses. CS, which is short for... I'm not even gonna try.
I didn't know. I seriously didn't know CS was the short form because CS gas is what.
Right.
That's what they used to refer to it. Yeah.
Right. And this doctor says that it should really be. We should really call it a pain nerve gas because that CS activates a specific pain receptor. That also, of course, is really, really good at degrading the mucous membranes in your eyes, nose, mouth, and lungs, which are also the layers of cells that help protect people from viruses and bacteria. So not only is this a pain nerve gas that triggers the pain receptors in your body, but it is a gas that is specifically created to strip your mucous membranes, which guess what is where those little viral little fucking molecules get trapped. But if you don't fucking have any of them because they've been burned off of you, you're more susceptible to things like coronavirus.
Meanwhile, Fox News famously did a segment where they said pepper spray is not that big a deal. It's like a condiment.
The fact that person wasn't then pepper sprayed as he was saying that is...
I believe it was
whatever.
she, but yeah.
Is a travesty.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, they definitely should have done it live on television on Fox News.
It's like the people who said that waterboarding isn't torture, and then some of them agreed to be waterboarded and lasted like 0.1 second.
Well, the most famous one was your buddy, Christopher
He's not
Hitchens.
My buddy.
Christopher Hitchens, who, for some odd reason, decided to defend waterboarding, and then, but to his credit, wanted to see whether he was correct that waterboarding was not a big deal, and had himself waterboarded. And what they did is, because you can't actually yell stop, because there's water in your mouth. They give you something to hold on to, and if you drop it, then that's your signal to them to stop. And I think he lasted like 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, tear gas is fucking awful.
So, and yeah, you were hit by it recently at the White House protests, and we had a friend who's works with the show Loud and Clear, Nicole Roussel, who was showing them her press badge, saying, "I'm press," holding up her press badge, very clearly talking to the cops, and then they shot her 7 times with various forms of projectiles, rubber bullets, and also what they call, which rubber bullets, by the way, should be called rubber-coated bullets, because it's basically a metal bullet with rubber on the outside.
Yeah, it's not like getting hit with a fucking bouncy ball.
Yeah, it's not a bouncy ball. And then the other one is pepper balls, which are basically feel like they create giant welts, giant bloody welts. They feel like getting hit by a bullet, but then they explode into pepper spray as well. So you get both. So they hit her with all that, and then she was knocked over and trampled and has had severe injuries, and we're hoping she gets well soon. But we're going to be, I think, if we have time, we're going to get into more about journalists being targeted here in a minute. But.
Well, on that note, I wanted to, because I just tweeted out this article earlier today. The United States has been added to a list of the most dangerous countries for journalists for the first time ever. Yeah.
USA. USA. USA.
Yeah. I can just hear the refrain of the of our national anthem, intermittently with people choking on tear gas and getting hit by rubber bullets. So yeah, I can't recall. There have already been somewhat like 300 complaints about the attack on journalists just in the past like week and a half with regards to the protests that have been happening, the specific targeting of journalists. So
and these are what's interesting to me is these are regular publications that are now covering this. Forbes is covering this. CNN obviously had their reporter arrested live on air, which doesn't normally happen. Normally the big networks are left alone while the independent and alternative outlets are attacked endlessly. Business Insider was also did an article about the attacks on press freedom, and really it basically seems that police departments across the country have begun to realize that they're accountable to no one. Mm-hmm. And that didn't quite occur to them at this level until probably the last 20 years. Maybe it got even worse during Occupy. But there was a time when they thought that maybe if they specifically aim at and shoot rubber bullets at journalists and specifically aim at and shoot tear gas at journalists, that they might end up in some sort of situation, that they might lose their funding, that they might get in trouble with the city council. Whatever it was, there used to be some light fear of the police that this was a bad idea, and that in most cities seems to be gone.
Yeah, and I just found it. By the way, it's a Forbes article that 300, and this is from June 6th, so it's definitely got to be more by now. 328 press freedom violations and counting just for these protests alone. Basically saying that they've been arrested or assaulted, or in other ways have had their freedom of press cracked down on. And something to note is that supposedly, with all these cities putting in curfews, media and press are one of the groups of people that are not supposed to be included in that curfew, because it is our job to be reporting on what's going on in the streets, regardless of whether there's a fucking curfew. But a lot of journalists and several friends of mine have found themselves arrested because they're out past curfew when media and press are specifically mentioned in these curfew, what do you call it? These curfew mandates,
restrictions,
as being a group that the curfew does not apply to.
And along with the attack on journalists, there's also been a concerted police effort to, it seems, to attack legal observers as well and medics as well. And at these events, at protests and things, you'll often see the medics will wear very visible, symbols on their hats and things, and the legal observers usually have on these certain neon-colored hats to show the cops and to show the protesters that they are not specifically partaking in the protests. They're not there to be a protester. They are there to monitor legally what's going on and whether the cops are doing right and whether anything is breaking the law. And they, one of them was horribly shot in the face with a rubber bullet, and I think broke some facial bones. And the medics as well are meant to not act as protesters, but act to help or monitor protesters. And so to see police go after them is truly horrible.
Yeah. I mean, not that going after regular protesters is in any way okay.
I'm totally fine with it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's really despicable to note that the people whose jobs are specifically to report, to assist, and to protect these protesters are the ones specifically being targeted by police. And here, again, to circle back, is why we talk about defunding the police. It's why we talk about things in an abolitionist framework. And even though that can sound scary, I know that we've covered this before, but really asking ourselves why we feel that we have to have police and what roles could easily overtake some of the many roles that cops play in our society, and specifically the oppressive nature, the necessarily oppressive and brutal nature of the police in this country. So, yeah.
Absolutely. What do we got next up on the docket?
Well, I just wanted to mention real quick, I was going to say speaking of Los Angeles, but that was a couple of comments ago. Whatever, I'm bouncing around like a fucking, I'm yeah. Yes.
That was my bouncing around noise.
To the shopping cart Mario thing. Or whatever. I wanted to share this wow. It's been a long day.
She wants to share this ass. I would like to share my ass as well.
Not my ass. I don't want to share my ass. We can share your ass. I will collaborate with you on sharing your ass.
Think we get more people to live stream?
Probably. Union del Barrio is for folks in LA is putting on a fundraiser and a supply drive for the Navajo Nation. For folks that haven't heard, Navajo Nation is like the most hardest hit area in the United States by coronavirus.
Per capita, it has more people with coronavirus than anywhere else.
They are desperate for supplies, and so you can either give via a Venmo type Cash App situation, and if you're interested, please do check out my Twitter where I have highlighted this tweet. But the Venmo is at American Indian Movement SoCal, and the items that they're looking for are masks, gloves, bandanas, wipes, sanitizer, cleaning supplies, hand soap, and the like. And you can go to uniondelbarrio.org. You can follow them on Twitter at Union del Barrio or on Instagram at the same name. And they've got drop-offs happening on Saturday, June 13th, from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. in Los Angeles. So if you're in the area, please do consider dropping off some supplies. Regardless of where you are, please consider supporting them financially if you can, because they are trying to get a bunch of supplies out to folks in Navajo Nation.
And speaking of coronavirus, in these last 10 minutes, I want to talk about just an insane story, but that because initially when the COVID-19 scares began, when the pandemic began, there was talk about, someone tried to go get a test and they got a test and then they got a bill for $3 $1,500 or something just to get tested. It's basically like, yeah, come on, get tested and we'll destroy your life if you're an average, worker. If you're getting paid $17 an hour or $7 an hour, enjoy paying this $3,500 bill for your test. But this shit is continuing to go on. There was I guess this is from Denver. There was a COVID patient, a survivor, successfully got through it by going to the hospital and being treated for COVID-19, and received a bill for $840,000.
That's not a typo. $840,000.
That's fucking insane.
By the way, he's a high school teacher. So,
well, all right, now I'm okay with it.
Over the course of, here's a math problem for you. How many years of teaching would he have to? I can't even.
Here's a math problem for you. One high school teacher goes into one hospital, gets treated for 19 COVIDs, and how much does he owe? Nearly $1 million.
So basically, this guy, Robert Dennis, had coronavirus, and he had to be intubated for 2 weeks, which is really amazing that he survived. It's incredible, because a lot of folks who are intubated don't make it out. But as his wife noted, his meds just at the hospital are $250,000. Now, for anyone who's ever gotten an itemized bill from the hospital, which just getting an itemized bill from the hospital is like fucking Finding Narnia. But
you had to do the thing where you nail splinters under their fingernails to get that, didn't you?
I said Beetlejuice 3 times. I had to draw a pentagram on the floor in chalk. I had to slaughter a lamb.
And then get a virgin to piss on it, right?
Yes. The virgin had to piss on the lamb before I slaughtered the lamb. It was a whole... And then if you do something backwards, you owe another $250,000. So you have to be very careful. But so I had to get an itemized bill for what they had, and I understand why they don't want people to see this, because, for instance, I'd gotten into an accident where there was glass that slashed through my arms. And so they dabbed Neosporin on parts of, that weren't as horribly cut. Each dab of Neosporin was like $30. Had I known this, I would have stopped by a CVS on the way.
With your arms bleeding out, you're like, could I have some Band-Aids?
Which, by the way, when I called my friend as I was bleeding profusely over the bathtub, I said, how close are you? And he's like, I can be there in 15 minutes. Do you need to call an ambulance? And I'm like, do you know how much that costs? That was legit the first thing that I fucking said to him as I'm bleeding profusely over my bathtub. Because this is the shit that people think about when they're injured. They don't think about, oh my gosh, I need to get care. They think, oh my God, this is going to be so expensive.
Or when someone gets coronavirus.
Right.
They think this. So this is part of the reason that coronavirus has been killing so many people in minority communities, because in our systemic racism country, those are more likely to be poor people. They're more likely to not have insurance, and they're more likely to be like, I ain't fucking going to the hospital. You out of your goddamn mind?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely grotesque, and this is debt that these folks will never get out of.
Well, you know what'll happen is the hospital, they'll say I can't pay, and the hospital will bring it down to just $600,000.
Right.
Just $500,000.
So the Colorado, in response to this report, the Colorado Division of Insurance told Denver 7, this outlet, that if their department regulates the insurance, which I don't even know what the fuck that means, the patient will be protected by a state emergency regulation. Also, if the hospital that treated a patient receives CARES Act funding, they're not required to send surprise bills for coronavirus treatment. First of all, they shouldn't be called surprise bills. The idea that this is some sort of...
The American healthcare system is fucked. This ain't no surprise. Right. Everyone knows. Everyone around the world knows. This is not a secret, folks.
And also the idea that, oh, if the hospital receives CARES Act funding, if there's regulation from your state emergency, whatever the fuck, then you might owe a little less than $840,000, but it's not like you're not going to owe anything. So all of these things have to line up perfectly, like a fucking solar eclipse, for you to owe potentially $500,000 as opposed to $840 million or $840,000. So it's absolutely fucking insane. And meanwhile, of course, the drug companies, the big pharma, big insurance are just laughing their asses all the way to the bank.
Yeah, they're doing great through all of this. The pandemic's probably the best thing to ever happen to them.
Oh, and the other thing that I thought was hilarious in the worst way was that the hospital noted that they've waived all copays. And they wanted a pat on the back.
That's like the $20.
Yeah.
So the person doesn't owe the $20, but he owes the $840,000.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Incredible. Hey, folks, there's no extra content tonight because we got a shitload of stuff we're in the middle of and aren't able to get to it. But
I think it's pretty clear that I'm tired. I think everybody noticed.
And also Eleanor's tired. But we'll have extra content next week as well. But more importantly, I'd love for everybody to come join us for the live stream, which is this coming Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, only at youtube.com/moment of clarity. You can join it late if you don't get there by 8 p.m. We'll be doing a full hour at least, and it's really a fun hang, especially if you're still quarantined and you're hanging out at home and you want a free place to hang out, comment with us, chat with us, give us topics, give us things to talk about. It's really a good time. So that's youtube.com/moment of clarity, 8 p.m. Saturday. Write it on your calendar. And also, Eleanor's award-winning film is out, hardroadofhope.com. Go grab it there. And patreon.com/commoncensored is where you can become a member of the show. Thank you, all of those of you who signed up recently, which it's been several in the last few weeks. And thank you. You keep this show going. We have no ads or corporate sponsors for anything that's not our own stuff. There's no one funding this except for you. So thank you so much. My new book is at leecampbook.com.
Woo!
Just gotta, you can't woo till I say the website. leecampbook.com.
I was wooing the book.
Now woo.
Woo.
No, I know you were wooing the book, but if you woo over the website.
Sorry.
leecampbook.com, which just got a great endorsement by Robert Scheer, the award-winning Pulitzer-nominated journalist.
And who you just did a great interview with, too.
I had him on the show as well, yeah.
No, you were on his.
And I was on his show. That you can listen to that interview, which we did a long time, so I think it's like an hour interview at scheerpost.com. SCHEER. And he had a lot of very awesome things to say about the book, so I'm pretty excited about that. You can get 10% off the book, by the way, by using the coupon code, the initials of the book, which is BPAPL, bullet points and punchlines. So type in the initials as the coupon code, you'll get 10% off. And lastly, all of Eleanor's work, as well as the recent photo essay about the protests, is at artkillingapathy.com. We will see you Saturday, 8 p.m. for the live stream. Keep fighting.
Act out.